My name is Garth, otherwise known as Big G.
My name is Richie Blackwood. I'm gonna play a lot of songs that you know as Jamaican songs.
First of all, again, Richie.
Yeah.
Perfect interruption. The fashion brethren. The man always, back in the 80s, the man always trash.
Yeah. We are basically using the music to highlight the transformations and the hand that he had in that kind of transformation.
From your head, shake it loose and let it fall. And then, ooh yeah, Sundays come here.
What is the was calling about? You can keep up right after. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good afternoon. Good evening if you're foreign, like in England. Good afternoon if you're in Jamaica, if you're in the United States, wherever you are on the planet. I know Copeland do a whole heap of thing. But welcome to Sunday Scoops. It's another Sunday. Everybody's having a great Sunday so far. If you're already in the evening or in the night, enjoy your evening and your night. Yes, sir, Mr. Blackford.
Well, I mean, I complain because nobody now listen. But
Bring the book, come from
we
me.
had a nice little kickstart yesterday to the reggae genealogy thing, and our main, one of our guests today, and
was a panelist on the program.
Was a panelist on the program. The erstwhile Mr. Copeland Forbes, OD.
And so overdose.
No, man. But listen.
Order of distinction.
Mr. Forbes has distinguished himself in the field and was duly recognized for his efforts, and this recognition continues. And so we're gonna share Copeland's story and the stories behind the story. That is the story of Copeland Forbes with our listeners. Today, we have the opportunity to get Mr. Forbes finally to come and talk to us about what? Reggae My Life Is.
Reggae My Life Is.
And so, again, if you're wherever you are, as God say, welcome. It's been, we always say the story of Jamaican music. Them say, if the lion could have read and write, the story of the hunt would have a different ending. A lot of people have come into Jamaica and attempt to write Jamaica's music story. And they write from their own perspective, not taking anything away from it. But then sometimes you read some of the things and you wonder, I wish part me did that. Or I wish Jamaica that the man talk about,
right,
or which artist this, because we know the artist.
And different perspective.
And when me know, no make no sense with when I read right or so. And so Copeland, with more than 55 years of being on the road, has finally put it together. And we have today, let me show off my copy.
Coveted. Coveted.
Reggae My Life Is. Mr. Forbes, how are you, sir?
Días, mi amor. Oh, buenas tardes, señores, señores.
Copeland?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you, man. Hearing you loud and clear. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yeah, man. Perfect.
Oh, you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, man. And I'm sure Clyde McKenzie is with us now. Clyde?
I saw him earlier on.
Yes, I hear him. Yeah, man. I hear him.
Oh, he's back.
Yes. Yes. Copeland, how are you? Welcome to Sunday Scoops, yourself and Mr. McKenzie.
Thanks for having me. My friend Mr. McKenzie seems to be still asleep after Riverson last night.
No, he listen, to drive from Montego Bay to Kingston and to get there to be at a 2 o'clock show at our stage in our life, that is not a
Yes,
easy
and
feat.
I can imagine too, because he's a great dancer. And anytime the music hit him
Him
and he
now
feel
come up
no
with the
pain at Rebel Salute, him steal the show right in the middle there and him dance all night. So I know probably that's what was happening to him. But thanks for coming on, Mr. Mackenzie, because boy, I knew what you went through. See the two armband have the passes them, the pass for right in front and the pass to dance all night.
One is a artist pass, and I think one is a sponsor pass or something like that.
So it's a sponsoring artist.
Something like that.
But we want to focus. We want to, we have 2 hours, and clearly with a man like Copeland, we need more than 2 hours, right? Let me tell you something, Clyde.
That's important remarks.
We need to catch a fight with Copeland yesterday for the thing, And Copeland almost take over the program,
Oh, I'm not surprised.
But Copeland all rope in when him, Mr. Vegas, as him assistant in the party. Mr. Vegas is a fellow.
I pass on picture.
Mr. Vegas is on the show as a panelist, and recruit Vegas to show all the posters, I remember telling you, but it was a phenomenal event. And Copeland wowed them as usual with his storytelling. And this is what we want to focus on today, Copeland storytelling. As I said before, writing the story. God, introduce the people to Mr. Forbes to me.
Before we even talk about the introduction, I'll tell you this, and using Copeland's own words. He says this book is not a history of reggae music. It is a synopsis, a very deep insight, not as a synopsis, a deep insight of his experiences working with the various assets of the reggae industry, namely the artists and the producers. So that's what this book is all about, his personal experiences and what he experienced while on tour. So this is not in no way a history of reggae music. So, introducing the Honorable Copeland Forbes, Order of Distinction, man who was born and raised in Jamaica and has danced his way into the reggae industry first and then became the manager, A&R, bridging the amount of jacket and uniforms he has worn over the years, but mostly as someone who took the talents of the legendary Jamaican artists abroad, notable people like Gregory Isaacs, Dennis Brown, and you name it. And the Marleys on tour with the Wailers. Yes, this is a person who is here with us today. And this is 2 years in the making, this book. In terms of, he told us about the book 2 years ago, and he promised to give us an in-depth interview. And
here we are today.
2 years.
Yeah, here we are today. So again, welcome. And let's talk with Clyde Mackenzie, who is by no means. Clyde Mackenzie co-wrote the book, if I'm quoting correctly. Yes, as told by, as this book is Reggae My Life Is, Copeland Forbes as told to Clyde Mackenzie, who is essentially the co-writer. Am I correct, Copeland?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And so, Copeland is certainly not a stranger to the music and entertainment industry himself, a recipient of the Order of Distinction from the government and people of Jamaica. Copeland has served in multiple capacities within the music industry. The Penthouse Productions. Listen, I don't want to get into the biographies because that will take up the whole 2 hours. But these guys,
that's a biography alone.
Yeah, will take up the show himself and Copeland. So, but we want to focus more on the work that was done behind the stage, as I'm understanding. Copeland spoke with Clyde, and they decided, after much prompting, to put his thoughts, his experiences into this manuscript, which has produced Reggae My Life Is. And so today we're gonna have conversations with Copeland and Clyde as to the influences, the issues that gave rise to the book itself. And my first question to you, Copeland, I mean, you've been in this business for a while, but tell us, how did your journey into the music industry, and more specifically as a road manager and artist manager, begin?
Well, it actually started the 15th of December 1962, right? When I formed the group. I was in the Boy Scout at the time, and we formed a group named the Harmonicats, right? And we were performing at tea parties and all the functions around Jamaica. And then we decided that we're going to take it a step further, right? So because we realized just blowing the harmonica wasn't enough, even though it was a popular thing at the time. Big Mama Tartan and Stevie Wonder made the harmonica a popular instrument. So we had four people in the group, including my brother Alfred Forbes, right? And then after a while we said, something, this is not going to work. Let's move over into a different era of the group and move from blowing harmonica into being the Harmonicats, not the Harmonicats, the Coasters, doing singing and dancing. Dancing first, because we were a dance group then. And let me tell you something. We were dancing with some of the big names at the club: Glass Bucket Club, Sombrero Club, Dingo Club, and we were associated with the Mighty Vikings band, because we were a member of the Mighty Vikings fan club. And that's how we actually get on most of the shows. And we danced our way right into the festival, won the festival, and then I migrated overseas, and start doing my thing. That was what propelled me into the music business. But music was actually in my blood from I was young, because my mother would sing when she cooking, and you would hear singing around the house. My big sister's fiance, which was Ron Wilson, everybody know him, a trombonist, right? Used to come by the house and blow his trombone when we were kids there. So I was hooked onto it. So I loved it, Kumina was the beat that I listened to. So being a dancer, it was easy for me, and I traveled over to the US. I remember I was in Minnesota for 3 months, and then I got a job with a band named Michael Mystic in Wisconsin at a club named Rainbow Gardens, and I was singing and dancing, and I was emulating James Brown, the Temptations, and most of those groups with choreographic steps and things. So we incorporated that in our group, and then we started dancing. And when I migrated to the States now, my sister, Faye Wallace, which is Faye Forbes, which later Faye Wallace, she joined my group too, and we were dancing at the Apollo Club, right? With the Apollo Theater. We did 21 shows in 1 week, 7 days, 3 shows per day. And a band from Jamaica named Skids Flesh and Bone, with a bass player named Lloyd Parks, Ansel Collins, Ranchi McLean, and a young little 14-year-old drummer named Lowell Dunbar, who later turned out to be the great
Sly Dunbar.
And we played at the Apollo Theater for a whole week. So Johnny Nash now, who was the king of reggae then, because he was doing a lot of covers of Bob Marley songs, right, into reggae, Coma Coma, Guava Jelly, and there were Two Cupid, a lot of foreign songs he did over. And being a Black American, he was getting a lot of airplay. So reggae was hooked onto him, and he was called the king of reggae then. So he was on tour, and he was going to be making an appearance on Soul Train, which was a top Black TV show at the time. Everybody around the world would watch Soul Train. But they wanted some people to show the world how to dance reggae, because this was a new phenomenon coming into the United States. So while we were at the Apollo Theater, Don Cornelius, who is the host of the show, was over by CBS with Logan Westbrook, who was the A&R man for Black music in CBS. He and Johnny Nash and Fitz Bartley and Don Cornelius came over to the Apollo, saw us dancing, and said, wow, this is what we want. You know, and they came backstage, signed us up, and the next thing we know, we're on our way to California to do Soul Train with Johnny Nash on Soul Train. So that was another big step for me then. So when I came back over into New York, now I was big in New York, everybody was watching Soul Train and said, boy, we have a star here. By then I had a 9-to-5 job working in the diamond industry. So 47th Street, where all the Jews, where everybody starts saying, here comes the star, here comes the star. So that propelled me into the limelight now, right, where Fitz Bartlett, who played a great role in my career, started taking me to the Apollo Theater, Joe Blue Showtime. He even took me down to Broadway, where I learned tap dancing at what's the name of that dancing school? I can't remember it, right? So that's what started me out in the music business. And then when I went back to Jamaica now, I decided that, well, listen, we have to do some recording now, you know? So I decided that we're gonna head down to the Duke Reed studio, right? To get an audition, because Gladys, who plays the keyboard down there, and Jackie Jackson, who was a Boy Scout in my school, in my troop, were the key people down there with the bass. So we figured it would be easier for us. But when we got down to Bond Street, we saw a gentleman sitting by the door with guns in his hand and play, you know, like when Durango kids, bullets across his chest, and a big 45 in his waist and a rifle in his hand, sitting on the liquor them. And
Not in Kingston anymore, you know, Wild Wild West.
we were scared to go across the street just to see a man with a rifle, a 45 in his waist, and another 38 in his left side, sitting there at the entrance of the door with a speaker box beside him, listening. So we stood across the street the whole day, hoping he would even try to even move for a second, and he never moved. So we never get through there. So we decided to go up to Cox's studio at Studio One, because at that time Roy Richards was big with Biggie, Cyrus, and all those songs he was playing with the harmonica. So we thought we could do the same or even better, because we were getting concerts and shows at the major places. But when we got to Cox's studio, oh my God, when you look in the yard, you see groups rehearsing. I mean, we couldn't even pass the gate. We couldn't even pass the gate. But going through all of that, it brought me into the limelight of the music. So while I was living in New York now, and doing all the reggae shows, being involved in it by Earl Harris, the promoter, Trinidadian promoter, who was there doing big shows, you know, and then Ken Williams, who was the program director at WLIB Radio, decided to put on a big concert in the 70s at Hunter's College, and the Mighty Diamonds was the hottest group then, and he wanted them now. So we went down to Jamaica, and the Mighty Diamonds, one of them was my schoolmate, in my Boy Scout, which was Tabby Diamonds. He was in my Boy Scout troop at All Saints, you know, and Judge was at Boys Town, and Bunny was living just up the road in Trenchtown from me. So it's just like my friends. So it was easy to get the Diamonds, you know, and we brought them up to New York, created a big phenomenon at Hunter's College. It was the first time people are seeing reggae out of the club now into a concert hall with PA system, mixing boards and all that stuff. And that started the trend right there and then. And then from then on, you know, I started working with the Diamond, and that brought me into the professional line of things, you know, that I can start going on tours and working with record companies.
Just a thought though, because you talk about this big gunman who's sitting under the door. That would have been Duke Reed.
Yes, that was Duke Reed, man. I was scared as hell. I couldn't even cross the street to walk on that side of the road. Because you remember them times that you see a man with a gun.
Yeah, man.
Right, hell. And this man was sitting with a rifle, a 45 and a 38 on top of the crate bottles, then with a speaker beside him. I couldn't pass that gate.
So tell me though, you go for Coxon, and when you go to Coxon, it's like a stadium with performance.
Yes, you see so many groups up there. And those are the times now when people were outside with them guitar and all the groups, them harmonizing, and everybody was singing some of the like the impression songs and all the group songs them. So I said to myself, boy, I don't know when to waste a chance. And every time I said, Jackie, me to come out and just point to a man and come in, and we couldn't pass the gate. It took us 1 month to pass the gate. And when we finally get into the compound, there's another tree we sit down, you know, and couldn't move from the tree. You know? So, I have to go by the club circuit now to get known because I can't get it through the recording studio. But it was a great experience for me because you see, a lot of the musicians, I knew them because I live in Jonestown and Trenchtown. Glad he was living on my street, so it's easy. Toots was up the road at 10th Street. Bagger, Walker, that plays at Studio One, was at the clock circle out there at 8th Street. So, and the Whalers, them down the road and Trenchtown. So I was still in the groove there with everybody, because remember, Bunny Whaler, myself, and Master Griffiths went to school together, and we grew up from Chitola Park all the way up. So it was a mixture, mixing with the people, but to get into the studio was a hard thing.
Yeah.
Well,
but the situation that you just described, one of the first things that comes to mind is that with that level of competition breeds excellence.
Yeah. True.
Absolutely. And
so it was not easy task. It was really a rough task to get, but I was glad I went through that route because people like Winston Chinkwi, who was the manager of the Mighty Vikings band then, he taught me a lot because he handles the business side of it. And that's how I realized that reggae music is 80% business and 20% entertainment. And that's how I get hooked into the music part of it because I took everything that I learned from him and carry with me.
It's interesting you make that statement you just made, especially when we're coming on the heels of the conversations we had yesterday at the genealogy thing. Music, reggae music generally, 80% business, 20% entertainment. And you learned that from as far back as then. Yet we have this issue with existing artists, some of fairly not so recent vintage, who seem never to have learned that. Eh?
Well, one of the reasons why they probably never learn it is because they never have a chinkwi behind them. And at the time too, you must remember, Richie, your immediate economic circumstance sometimes dictate your thought process. So the only thing you want to do is get paid so you can give your baby mother money and pay your rent and pay for the 2 hot beer where you trust up a mazy bar and them things so,
Well, as you make the point, though, Copeland, I'm reading through, you call some names, your guy that fits the diamond trade. You talk about, as I read, I started reading the book, and there's a girl, they said, was so fascinated with diamonds, right? So now I understand where that diamond story coming because
and I was working in a diamond company in full cut manufacturers.
So she clearly will take a shine to you because of why it's diamond. Yeah. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. And he quoted that in the book. Right?
Yeah. And what of fact is Clyde just come up with that line and I said, you're right, because I used to manage the diamonds. I work in a diamond company and she visited the diamond company. So him said Charlize was, so a girl's best friend is diamonds.
You talked about, so other anecdotes. You were getting married. You same after you go New York and you sow your roots and thing and married. And then you come to Jamaica, you send all the money for plan the wedding and all them thing there. And the story with the tailor and the wedding, just give us a little synopsis of that.
Well, quickly, while I'm in the States, I said, boy, I'm copying my mother's foot trail because she and my father were married. We had 12 siblings in all together, right? So I decided that I wanted to go back to Jamaica to marry to my children's mother and bring her up to the States so we can have a good family life. So, I was sending out money to Jamaica constantly, and plan this thing and so on. 6 months ahead of time, every week I work, I send out money to plan it. I know how much people I want at the wedding, X amount, because I was too well known in the music business to invite everybody. So we have to send by special invitation. Anyway, when I got down, things went out of hand because the person said that my fiance came 6 months ago and didn't come back. So he didn't know that a wedding was going on, and he had 3 other weddings that day, what I mean? And I come down from the States well prepared now to go through this now. So I had to start from scratch in the States. In a nutshell, I went through the whole thing. It wasn't easy to get it done. Derek Harriott played a great role in that whole shebang and thing. But what happened now is that I brought down a double-breasted suit because Joe Tex and the Bluesbusters inspired me. So I brought down a double-breasted suit, myself and Lascelles Perkins. Lascelles Perkins was my best man, and he was a good friend of the family, and he used to be by my house in New York regularly. So he came down to be the best man. But when you buy this suit now, they don't turn up the foot. You have to turn it up to suit your size. So I was living in Kingston there. So I went to this tailor, which was Wilfred Edwards' father, at a tailor shop, right at the bridge there of Maxwell Avenue. And I took my suit there for him to adjust everything, take my measurement and everything like that, And then on the way back from Hart's Butchery and Cold Storage down at Last Street, we have to go and make arrangement to get curry goat and thing to put for the wedding now and so on. I stopped by to pick up my suit. I picked it up, went to home, right, and start getting ready. And then when I bring up the pants now, the pants cut just below my knee. Because he mixed up my measurement.
Hold that thought to come now. We're up on a quick break because I thought that was hilarious. Let's go on the break. We'll come right. Man was made to suffer. Women were made to feel the pain. And you're a boy them there in Copeland, so we're going to intersperse some of them tune with some of those groups and individuals you have trekked around the world with as we do this little thing, this conversation. Now, so you were talking. You say you put on the suit, and what happened?
It up, but it's just little below my knee, So I said to myself, "What is this?" I didn't know what to do. And you had already cut the pants, right? So I even pull it out and carry it down to about 1/4 inch to the edge, and it still couldn't work. And I didn't know what to do. Now I decided that since it's a double-breasted suit and it's long, I'm gonna drop the pants down as far as possible and use a safety pin, right, to hold it. The zip couldn't come up, so it was catching me on my bottom, so we can get little length out of it, so it wasn't too bad, And I just say, as I put it in the book, after that time, Clyde again, you make it creative, and I was walking on pins and needles. One large step, and then the needle, the pin would burst, and the pants drop off, But I was able to go through it and, go through everything and so on. And then, what was happening? The 4 brides were late. 4 brides were late.
Bridesmaids.
Yeah, the bridesmaids. No, the brides.
You had 4 weddings.
Yeah, because 4 weddings in one, and I was the 3rd one. He put me there. So when I arrived there, none of the first 2 bride wasn't there yet, And then when my time come and pass, the 4th bride don't come yet. So the person that's put us in the middle, in the front bench, and say, anybody see a bride come first, just move to the altar. So this was like inside of St. Luke's church now. By then, I have the Boy Scouts them outside with guard of honor, with flags, because I was a Queen Scout, and I reached the highest rank in Boy Scout. The Boy Scout came and formed a guard of honor. Them stand them out there till some of them start to fail because them standing so long. And then while I was sitting there now, then finally I just see my bride come, and when I come up, I say, how come you come late? Why, I was watching Where It's At.
So she lose track of time.
It was a dramatic kind of scene, but to jump over that, eventually now we get through the church part of it. Yes, a bat was flying around, and as you see it in the book, a bat was flying around in the church.
Yes, your mother says a woman.
Yeah, my mother says a bad omen. That is not a good sign, But anyway, when we went to the reception was something now because the 4 Tops was in Jamaica at the time. So when the concert was over, everybody leave from Regal Theatre and come down to the wedding reception. So before
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yaawdmedia.com where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.